God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Evening, City Council, Mayor Burcroft, Treasurer Page, Deputy Clerk and audience. This is the City of Romulus City Council regular meeting for Monday, December 3rd, 2018. And at this time, the agenda calls for roll call. Councilwoman Abdo.
Here.
Councilman Barton.
Here.
Councilwoman Roscoe.
Here.
Councilwoman Talley.
Here.
Councilman Wadsworth. Councilwoman Webb.
Here.
Councilwoman Williams.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you.
The agenda is as follows. Number 1, agenda. Number 2, minutes. Number 3, petitioner. Number 4 is chairperson's report. 5, mayor's report. 6A, clerk's report. 6B, treasurer's report. 7, public comment. 8, unfinished business. 9, new business. 10, communication. And number 11 is adjournment. And a motion would be in order to accept the regular council meeting agenda as presented.
So moved to accept the agenda as presented.
Or,
It's been motioned by Ms. Talley, supported by Ms. Roscoe, for the approval of the agenda as presented. Ms. Talley,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
yes.
Ms. Abdo,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth, Ms. Webb.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, agenda approved.
Agenda item 2A for approval are the minutes from the regular council meeting held on November 26, 2018.
So move for November 26, 2018.
Support.
It's been motioned by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Ms. Abdo, for approval of the minutes from the regular council meeting held November 26, 2018. Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Yes.
Ms. Talley?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
There were no special meetings held on November 26. Also, number 3, we have no petitioners this evening. Number 4, chairperson's report.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I hope everyone had a nice weekend, and I have no report tonight. We had no special meeting, as the clerk mentioned, and chairperson has no report tonight.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we accept your no report tonight.
Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Roscoe, supported by Ms. Webb, to accept my no report tonight. Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Ms. Webb,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Talley,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved. Thank you.
Number 5 is the mayor's report.
Good evening, City Council, Treasurer, Clerk, Deputy Clerk, and audience. Tonight I want to do, in lieu of a quote and video, really what I'd ask Mr. Chairman is, and earlier everybody probably heard that we have we lost a past president. So George H.W. Bush passed, our 41st president, and I would just like to ask for a quick moment of silence if we could, for the country and for his family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a couple quick action items under my report, if we could. First up is what you have before you is a request and recommendation from Roberto Scappaticci, Director, and Steve Hitchcock, our legal counsel. And this is a request to concur with administration and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute our existing single-hauler waste collection disposal contract with Waste Management for the disposal of auto and truck tires.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we amend 14/15-20, the waste management for tire disposal.
Support.
It's been motioned by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Ms. Roscoe, for addendum to RFP 14/15-20, waste management for the tire disposal. Any discussion?
Yes, John.
Yes, Ms. Abdo.
Yes, I just had a question. If
Sure.
Someone is wanting to get rid of a tire, where do they do that? 'Cause I
Well,
read
this
through
would be for our DPW equipment that we use. This would also be for the annual, free
have to
dumping,
wait
so
till
they
the
can do
annual
it
free
then.
dumping.
Or this would also be for the court workers when they pick up along the roadside. So don't throw them out in the road, obviously, but I would say the annual, typically a lot of people dispose of them then.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Wadsworth,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe.
Yes.
Ms. Tally,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Webb,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, council. Next is item B. What you have before you is a recommendation from Tim Keys, Economic Development, and Andy McKay, Romulus Athletic Center, General Manager. And this is a request to concur with administration, award bid ITB 18/19-16. And this would be to Frank's Landscaping and Supply LLC. The amount is $16,900. That will be for snow removal and ice management for the 18-19 winter season for the RAC.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Abdo.
I'll make that motion that we concur with the administration and award bid ITB 18/19-16 to Frank's Landscaping and Supply for the snow removal and ice management at the RAC.
Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Abdo, supported by Ms. Williams. This is for the ITB 18/19-16 for the 2018-2019 snow removal, ice management service for the Romulus Athletic Center. In discussion.
Mr. Barton?
Yes, Mr.
If I
Wadsworth.
could, to the mayor.
Yes.
Mayor, on this price of $16,900, is this no matter how many times they come out?
Yeah, that's for the season, and this is a new contractor also, because the one we had prior, even though it may be competitive, we had service issues with them. So this should cover us, and by the way, this is also paid by rink management. So it's set aside as a line item
Right.
and backed.
I know there was a time that we used our own DPW, but this is more efficient? or-
Correct.
All right, okay, fine.
We still, in emergency cases, if we have extra things that need done, we have had DPW, but they're primarily focused on local streets.
Okay,
in our
fine.
parking lots.
Thank you.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Tally?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, council. The last item, there are just some planning commission reappointments. So what you have before is a request to concur with administration and approve the reappointment of Kathy Freitag, David Paul, and Jessica Workman. That would be for the Romulus City Planning Commission. All those terms to expire January 31st, 2022.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion to concur with administration and approve the reappointment of Kathy Freitag, David Paul, and Jessica Workman to the City of Romulus's Planning Commission with terms to expire on January 31st, 2022.
Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Roscoe, supported by Mr. Wadsworth. This is for those planning commissioner reappointments. In discussion. Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Tally?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Abstain.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, City Council. That concludes my report. Actually, there's a memo that I sent out, actually just email. The gentleman that came last week, I won't get into the details, Mr. Watson, you asked me to look into the purchase of the property. I did have an email sent out to all the council today explaining the process, and you can see in great detail, but this was negotiated since '04. It was sold way over market price, and it was actually negotiated through the DDA. It wasn't me. So just to clarify, if you have any questions on that memo, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
6A is the clerk's report. 6A1 is a study session request, and this is from the Director of Financial Services, Suzanne Marino, and she's requesting a study session for Monday, January 14th, 2019, and that will be from 6:30 PM to 7:30 PM, and this is to present and discuss the June 30th, 2018 annual financial report.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion that we schedule our study session report for January 14th, 6:30 to 7:30.
Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Abdo, supported by Ms. Tally, for the study session request for Monday, January the 14th, 2019, to present the annual financial report. Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Ms. Tally?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, the motion is approved.
6A2, this This is a study session request from the DPW Director, Roberto Scapitici, and this is for Monday, December 10th, 2018, from 6:30 PM to 7:30 PM, and this is to discuss the Great Lakes Water Authority's presentation of the Wick Road 48 Water Main Project.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion for the study session request for Monday, December 10th, 2018, to discuss Great Lakes Water Authority's presentation of the Wick Road 48-inch water main project.
Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Roscoe, supported by Ms. Abdo, for a study session request for Monday, December the 10th, 2018, to discuss Great Lakes Water Authority's presentation of the Wick Road 48-inch water main project. Yes.
People at home, this is quite a project that's gonna be coming through next year, all the way down Wick Road. It's a Great Lakes Water Authority project, so if you're in that area and you're interested, please come out to this study session. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Tally,
Yes.
Ms. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
6A3 for second reading and final adoption is Budget Amendment 18/19-12, General Fund. This budget amendment was introduced at the council meeting of November 26, 2018.
Through the chair, if I may.
Yes, Ms. Webb.
I'd like to make that motion to accept second reading, final adoption of Budget Amendment 18/19-12 to the general fund for the, to allocate funding for costs associated with the acceptance of the 2017 SAFER grant. Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Webb, supported by Ms. Tally, for second reading, final adoption of Budget Amendment 18/19-12, General Fund. Ms. Webb,
Yes.
Ms. Tally,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
6A4 for second reading and final adoption is Budget Amendment 18/19-13, General Fund. This was introduced at the council meeting of November 26, 2018.
So moved, Mr. Chairman, for second reading and final adoption of Budget Amendment 18/19-13 from the general fund.
Support.
It's been motioned by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Ms. Roscoe, for second reading, final adoption of Budget Amendment 18/19-13, General Fund. Mr. Wadsworth,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Ms. Tally,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Abdo,
Yes.
Ms. Webb.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
6A5, which is the last agenda item under the clerk's report, and this is for second reading and final adoption of Budget Amendment 18/19-16, Federal Forfeiture Fund, which was introduced at the council meeting of November 26, 2018.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion for second reading, final adoption of Budget Amendment 18/19-16 for the Federal Forfeiture Fund.
Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Roscoe, supported by Ms. Webb, for second reading, final adoption of Budget Amendment 18/19-16 for the Federal Forfeiture Fund. Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Tally?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you. That concludes the clerk's report.
Thank you.
6B is the treasurer's report.
Thank you. Good evening, council, mayor, clerk, and deputy clerk, as well as the audience. I do not have anything to report today. Thank you.
Number 7 is public comment, and this agenda item is for individuals who would like to address city council. Please raise your hand, and when recognized by the chair, approach the podium and state your name and address. Remarks shall be limited to 3 minutes, subject to being extended an additional 3 minutes by consent of the chairperson. There shall be no personal attacks, and remarks shall not contain any profanity, racial, ethnic, sexual, or national origin slurs or overtones. Public meetings shall not be used to campaign for elected office, not be used to support or oppose any candidate or ballot proposals. Anyone not adhering to these rules shall lose their right to address city council. A response to any questions and/or concerns will be provided under agenda item number 8, unfinished business, and that's only if the information is available. Otherwise, responses that require further investigation will be given at a later date. We do have one written request, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
and that is John Wester.
Good evening, folks. John Wester, I live at 61504 4th Street. I'm actually here this evening representing the Romulus Flyers. It was brought to my attention over the weekend that there was a discussion about having the Flyers move out of the Chamber of Commerce building. So that, obviously that's a little bit of a concern for us. We'd like to know what's going on and what the plan for moving forward, if we're gonna have to move.
We will,
I'll check with other departments. I have no plans to move them out of there, so I'm not sure where that came from. Did city council ask to check into that?
I haven't heard anything.
That's the first I heard of
Mr.
it.
Chair,
I'll check with departments and get back to you,
I
but,
can address it
Oh, you
under
can? Okay.
unfinished business after,
Yeah, no problem.
at that. I can
Thank
address
you.
that.
all right. She'll address it on unfinished business. Any other public comment? Yes, Mr.
Evening.
Evening.
And as y'all may have said about the property at 36100 Bivens. So, did I hear that again?
Well, maybe if you want to address that on unfinished business. Yeah, we have a couple of requests for unfinished business, so.
That I was pushed out, like I said the last time. You all came to me 2 or 3 times asking to buy my property, and I wouldn't sell. Then you built the house up above me, your property, made me have to swim to survive, and I did that for 20 years. Nobody did nothing but one thing, and that's come dig a trench across my driveway. Would you want anybody to dig a trench across your driveway and be happy if they did? So what is that? That's bullying, as you would say, and we try to teach our kids against that. But you came back just like kids do and take what they want. And that's what you did to me. Like the kids ask for your gym shoes, you better pull them off, don't you gonna get it. I wasn't wanting to sit there until I got shot, holding on to some property. So I really think you all did me a disservice. I thank you.
Thank you.
Nobody got back with me when, from before. Was supposed to get back with me, I haven't heard a word.
Are there any other comments from the audience? There's no more comments from the audience? Comments closed.
Number 8 is unfinished business.
Mr. Martin?
Oh, Mr. Chair, I'd like to just address Mr. Wester's concern. We're working with DDA, that building, and the way it's set up is that the clerk's office, we lease from DDA to store records, and then the flyers sublease from the clerk's office, and that's kind of how it's been structured when I came into office. So we are looking at possibly finding another location for our records, because we're kind of growing out of space, and it's just not containing enough of space to accommodate all of our records. So we've been looking at other buildings and the possibility of that. But DDA has some, they're looking at some other uses for those buildings. So nothing has come to fruition yet. This is just discussion. It's just we're all kind of looking at what we need to do and kind of the feasibility of everything, if there's some other buildings, and how we're kind of working together. It's really just, discussion right now. So nothing is concrete, and so we're, when that time comes, then we will notify you, of that. Anything, let's say if the clerk's office does vacate and find another location for all of our records, then at that point, then we would notify the flyers, and then any, to continue using that building then would be under the DDA, or whoever is responsible, for that building. But nothing's come to fruition yet. It's just kind of talk, and we're kind of planning and kind of looking towards the future, because we're just kind of busting out at the seams and running into space. But we can get with you, Mr. Wester, and I'll get with Mary Droyer, and then we can kind of have that discussion, and we can get with you to talk about the future of that.
Okay,
If that
thank you.
answers the question, yeah.
After, you can get with the clerk after the meeting, Mr. John.
We can discuss it after.
After the meeting, cause once you up.
Well, actually, I'm gonna come back to this meeting and speak again, because this is frustrating. I watched my similar cities where there are organizations much like mine, or ours, where the city has given them a facility that they're responsible for, usually it's unused property that the city owns, that they let them use, and they get a 100-year lease. They build on, they add on to. I mean, you guys do a lot for us, but it's this thing of having to move around, that's a struggle. Not having a permanent home, not having a place that we can count on, that's a struggle. That's a concern for an organization that's been a part of the city since 1951. We've been doing this, a lot of work that you guys don't do, that you probably don't want to be bothered with the expense or the liability. This is kind of frustrating for an organization that's been doing a lot for the kids for a long time. Come on, guys. It's about time we step up and kind of do for us like Allen Park, Dearborn Heights, and Lincoln Park do for their program.
Mr. Chair, I'll meet with Mr.
Okay.
and Mrs. Wester after the meeting, if you can stay afterwards, and we can talk more about that.
Okay, thank you.
If I could address the other issue, and I'm not going to read the complete privilege and confidential letter that you were given by the attorney. I'll highlight a couple things. As I said, the property in question, these accusations are absolutely ridiculous, flat out. You read that document, these negotiations went on back to 2004. You see listed in this document the SEV price and fair market price, and then what we paid him. SEV was $30,000 for that. He accepted a check for $97,237. So it was paid at time of closing. We paid to demo it. He was there, represented his wife and daughter, according to Maria Lambert. I was not involved in this negotiation. It was a DDA. Bottom line, the last paragraph, you see, this was a voluntary transaction. We didn't take anybody's property. So you read that, City Council. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to address them to you. I'm not gonna give this gentleman a privileged document, but you asked me to check it out, and I did. And I take offense to those accusations. It's ridiculous. We would love to have homes here. We get more value out of having homes that are there than, we don't take people's property. So read this, pretty complete report, and if you have anything else, I'll be happy to answer it.
Mr. Wadsworth, did you have anything?
Yes. On a quick note, last council meeting, I talked about Christmas coming, and if you want to adopt a cat or a dog, to go to the Romulus Animal Shelter, and I still encourage you to do that, and also to donate to the Romulus Animal Shelter. But last week, I read a bunch of other organizations in this town, and I failed to mention the Romulus Progressive Hall that sits at 5 Points. It's an organization that's been in our town, I believe, since 1941, and that place is also looking for donations to help their cause over there. And going back to the shelter itself, if you don't want to donate cash, they always take blankets, rugs, cat food, dog food, anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wadsworth.
Is there any more unfinished business? Okay. Number 9 is new business.
Ms. Williams?
Yes, through the chair,
Yes.
I would like, ask the mayor, I've been getting a lot of calls over the weekend pertaining to the water bills that's, been sent out probably in the last maybe 6 months. What is the reason, there's not an envelope in the water bill anymore?
You would like me to speak on that? Okay. The water bill comes out of the finance department. It does not come out of the treasurer's office. That was a decision made through the finance department. So I would recommend talking to Suzanne Marino.
It was a cost savings, basically.
Yeah.
Yes, and we have requests, I'll field it. So if someone needs an envelope, we'll provide an envelope. How about that?
Okay, well, I will
Thank
give you, I will forward the names to, the
That'd be great.
chief
It
of
was
staff.
done as a cost savings, because a lot of people were throwing them out and not using them, and we're trying to find any way for efficiency, so be happy to do that.
Thank you.
And through the chair, if I may?
Yes, Ms. Webb.
Mayor, I had called you, but then I hung up on you, so I didn't get a chance to tell you what I wanted. The roads here in our city. I have received numerous calls regarding the city of Romulus roads. When you leave out of one city and come here, our roads are really bad. And if you could just address that to the citizens or the public so that they'll know where are we in regards to any type of road repair for the city.
Sure, I can comment on that. As everyone knows, we had a couple years ago 2 different shots at a local street proposal. That was a 10-year plan to basically address the local neighborhood streets. Came close, didn't pass. We get what's called Act 51 money, as you know, and it's based on the miles of road and population. What's difficult for any community with Act 51, which is part of the gas tax, is that basically it doesn't give you a lot of money to, let alone plow snow and salt, but to do any kind of infrastructure work. Think about Romulus. We've got the airport in the center, so we have just under 25,000 residents. They have 18,000 badged employees every day that just come to work, not the travelers, just to work, that come across our roads. We get $0 from the state for that. I've been sitting on a Michigan Municipal League Transportation Committee now for 2-3 years, trying to bring up and get changes or exceptions to that formula for communities like Romulus, to no avail. There's still discussion in Lansing about it, so the best thing I can get our residents to help us do, and you as well, especially we have some new elected state representatives, is to pass along to them how flawed that system is for funding. There's a lot of talk at the state level about road money. And the last race, you heard governor's race talking about it. Here's my concern is that when road money is allocated at the state level, which I hope they do allocate some more, people hear roads and they think it's our neighborhood streets or bordering streets. And unfortunately, by the time it gets from the state highways to county roads and others, very little to none comes to us to actually do work on our roads. So what is our plan for preventative maintenance? Just like I said a couple years ago, we did that PowerPoint and we did town hall meetings. We're cold patching. We are trying to find funding where we can. We're testing a market right now. It's called a chip seal, correct, type program that Roberto and Kathy are looking at. There's some targeted roads that we think it may help It was done in years past, so that will give us some relief. Not complete blacktop repair like was done in the past with the asphalt, but we have a plan. It's a reactionary plan. We're coming into the winter months where really it starts to get worse, Councilwoman. So we're going to try to find creative ways that we can maintain and patch. But I'll be honest with you, we need to have a sustainable long-term plan. And we had a detailed plan that was a 10-year plan that said what road, to what extent, and what timing it will be done. And the voters twice told us that, well, I think what they said is they wanted the roads fixed, they didn't want to pay for it, is what I heard from the message. So they give us other alternatives, which is find ways to patch it and get it done. So we're looking at those, and we're trying to exhaust those resources. We do have also a piece of it is county roads in the city. So what I've done with our team, a couple times now, we've done some assessments of those. We've communicated with the county. We actually did a bus tour. I brought the Beverly Watts, who's over all Wayne County roads. I brought Warren Evans, his chief of staff. We drove around the county roads around the airport in Romulus, asked for some help. They did give us some help in some areas, but we still have a lot more need. A lot of our major arteries that you mentioned go to other communities and back are county roads. There's about a dozen what I call critical county infrastructure projects that I'm requesting right now from them that are, I call safety issues that are due to the road. One is Wayne and Ecorse where it floods. Literally people crossing over the line to go around the water. That's one of my top areas. Hannon and Northline is another one. I've written letters. We provided police data from us, from Van Buren. At some point, you know, I'm right now, JD is in conversation with the chief of staff from the county. We're trying to get help. We're trying hard to do that. I could use any help from the county or state that anybody has any influence on to help us, because here's the fact, they're gonna continue to get worse. And as they continue to get worse, property values are worse, and you're just cold patching, which is only a short-term solve. I probably gave too much explanation, but that's kind of a little bit about what we're living coming into the winter months here.
No, I appreciate it, Mayor, because I could not stand and explain it that long, in detail. But I'm glad, and I hope that the public is listening to that and to contact our representatives
Please.
on the state level.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Ms. Williams has, and then Mr.
Yes, and I
Wadsworth.
just wanted to say, that is so very important, because we have a state rep and a state senator, and we also have a Wayne County Commissioner. So we definitely need to, not only we as elected officials, but the residents need to make sure that they help and distribute money to our city as they do Taylor and Wayne and the other cities in Wayne County, because I noticed since I've been in Romulus, there's more money spent on the state level and the county level in cities around us versus the cities that Wayne County should be spending a lot of money in our city, since the airport sits in the middle of our city. And the traffic that the airport draws in our city, they should really be looking at us and be willing to spend more money. And especially since we have so many of our major roads, Wayne County roads. And so I attended the Wayne County Commissioner meeting, and I would suggest anyone else, it's an open meeting to the public, and address the commissioners about the concerns of our roads. Thank you.
And if I could, not to leave out our county commissioner, because that's a good resource also. Al Haydes is our current commissioner. He was involved in that road tour. Talking to him and asking him to lobby our cause, anything would help. So talking to him, going to commissioner meetings, writing letters, any of those, I'll take the help. Thank you.
Mr. Wadsworth,
I just want to piggyback on what the mayor was talking about. You know, Mayor, all the roads that lead into our city aren't really our responsibility. If you look at it, going from Inkster all the way to Hannon to Pennsylvania, and it's a really sad. And I know when you were on council with me, we attempted to get the state of Michigan to put was it a 15-cent tax or a 25-cent tax on it, and they laughed at us. They don't realize what the airport does. Vehicles come every day. There's toilets in the airport are flushed and they come back to our system of the roads. And I don't think they really understand, as much as the airport is a positive thing for us, it's also a very negative thing for us at times, and that's just an opinion I have.
Thank you, Mr. Roswell.
Is there any more new business? Number 10 is communication.
Abdo?
Yes, I'd just like to remind people that this Sunday is the National Honor Society annual Chad Tuff Bowling fundraiser, and there are still tickets available. If you wish to sponsor a student or make a donation, you can contact me. Thank you.
Yeah. Ms. Talley?
Yeah, if you can indulge me for a few minutes. Last week at the last meeting, I failed to bring up, we had our Ministerial Alliance Thanksgiving worship service at Mount Olive. I want to give a shout out to the Mount Olive Church for opening their doors for us to have that annual worship service. And then just the servants, they just treated us well, they fed us, and it was just a great service. And thank you, Councilwoman Webb, for attending. Just thank them, the residents that came out, and then the membership at Mount Olive for allowing us to come there and conduct that worship service. And also want to give a shout out to Reverend Thompson, who is the senior pastor. He's going to be retiring after 38 years, I think, next year, and I'm sure we'll see a resolution come down the line for him for next year. But and a shout out to Reverend Jones, who actually extended us for us to come into Mount Olive to host the service. So just want to thank the members of Mount Olive and the church, the pastor and Reverend Jones, for facilitating that for our Ministerial Alliance. And then also to Jessica at the mayor's office, who got the communications out. Thank you to her for that. And a couple other quick things. Our city had a business-to-business series that they do ongoing. I got a chance to pop in this past Thursday. Couldn't stay long because I had to go to my other job. But it was very nice. Some of the local businesses that came out, they were highlighted. And I was aware Tim Keys wasn't there that night because he was out accepting an award called the 5-star, E-Cities. The University of Michigan, they give a 5-star, and from my understanding, they've been getting this for the last several years. So I wanted to give a shout out to them, Tim, his team, Mary Drewer, and everybody in that department. And they win this award annually for best practices. So I just wanted to give them a quick shout out for that whole team down there for the best practices they've done here for the last several years. So, and then on top of that, with the business to business, I got a chance to that weekend after business to business to visit a lot of our local businesses. Please want to shout out to Wild Willie's out on Middle Belt. Very nice establishment. I just think it's a well-kept gym. Very nice out there. I went out there and had some dinner out there on Middle Belt. Shout out to Jonathan Yono, who's the owner. I think his family has done business out there for many years. But they took over Wild Willie's, have revamped it. From my understanding, for what it was before, from what I saw, what I was in there, it was very, very nice. So I don't know what it looked like before, but I was very impressed with the establishment. So shout out to them. And then Jeff Lowry was the DJ. We did some karaoke that night. So just a shout out to our businesses here in Romulus, and also to Skyway. It's a restaurant on Middle Belt as well. I want to shout out to them. Had breakfast with my son there over the weekend. So a lot of just supporting our local businesses. And then I ended my weekend at the Romulus House, an old city favorite. So just shout out to all our businesses and just other businesses out there. We have a banquet center on Ecorse Road. We have a brew pub on Garden. We just, and I can't name them all, but just want to give some shout out to all these local businesses here for choosing to do business here. And for our residents for supporting these businesses here. We need to support our business. And thank you for those who come out and support these businesses and continue to move our city forward. And I want to do a quick shout out to my parents who celebrated 51 years of marriage this past weekend as well. Thank you.
Yeah. I want to note that Ms. Talley said last year I attended the business to business. It's well worth it. Got an opportunity to talk to some businesses, learn a lot of things from the businesses to businesses meetings. And it's well worth to attend. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that I couldn't make it this year, but God willing, I'll try to make it next year.
Amen.
Thank you.
Is there any more communication? If not, number 11 is adjournment.
So moved.
Support.
It's been motioned by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Ms. Roscoe for adjournment. Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Tally?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, we are adjourned. Thank you.